Information fueled,
opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in, along with Johnny B. Ken Weaver. How are you? The red pilling of America does continue, one person at a time. We've got a lot of news to get to today. No big shock. I really enjoyed doing this one particular topic in Washington, D.C. Yesterday afternoon, doing the afternoon show there. And I don't know if they were real happy about it locally, like they're in market, but I went on for an entire segment. Do you know what is the most undesirable city to live in America? It's Washington, D.C. You know who's second? San Francisco. I'm sure that Memphis is somewhere up there in the top 5. The point is, and this is a point that I've been making all week long, and really for 10 years now, Democrat rule destroys American cities. Progressive rule and progressive principles destroy American cities. And so that's why the red pilling of America, I believe, is happening one person at a time. There is a great video making the rounds. It is a black woman who posted a 4-minute plus video about how she was shocked, I tell you, that Donald Trump's live stream with Elon Musk was actually about policy and not Donald Trump threatening and killing people. This is part of what she had to say.
All of these negative headlines from our media about how bad the interview was. Now, if you didn't listen to the interview, you would think that Donald Trump said he was going to do something to everybody in the world. Let me tell you what it was. I sat there, and I normally don't listen to speeches or interviews, but I sat there and I listened to the entire thing, and it was really quite amazing.
Yeah, this is, again, a black woman. And people are labeling this on social media as sort of like a public service announcement from this woman. I, by the way, have posted this to my ex account at Dan Mandis Show. But you know, because I played you a lot of the audio, so did Chris Sand. I'm sure everyone else did as well. But Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they spoke about policy. And it just sounded like two guys talking in a bar. Donald Trump spoke about the economy. He spoke about illegal immigration. He spoke about foreign policy. He spoke about crime. All of the things that Americans are worried about. And so to the media, he was rambling. He was threatening. He was hostile. It was glitch-filled and all that slurring and lisping that Donald Trump was supposedly doing. When the reality is that he talked about what he wants to do with America. And that scares the left. The very idea that Donald Trump is able to speak unencumbered for over 2 hours about the greatest hits of Donald Trump, the last administration, and perhaps the next administration, that scares the living crap out of liberals. It scares the living crap out of the media. It scares the living crap out of the Democrats and Kamala Harris. And that's why they try to portray the former president and Elon Musk as so dangerous. The only folks that they're dangerous to is Democrats because they're calling the Democrats out. And by extension, of course, the media as well. And so you know what their policy is. I mean, their policy is nothing but Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Orange man bad. That's what the media thinks. That's what the left thinks. That's why Donald Trump actually talking about ideas is such a good thing. And that's why Kamala Harris, she refuses to talk policy because she can't. Actually discussing the issues is concerning. The issues that you care about, they don't matter to the media or to the left. And this lady going viral on the internet this morning, she understands that now more than anyone.
You say the same things. You address the same issues. You address inflation. You address the war. You address freedom of speech that you guys are trying so hard to remove from everyone. When you address those same issues, or if you address those same issues, then your party platform would be about issues and not about Donald Trump.
And by the way, she's speaking directly to black folks. This is the black woman. And again, people are calling it like a public service announcement for other black people. I don't know. To me, it goes beyond color of skin. This is just common sense, what this woman is saying. And yeah, when you look at what Kamala has done with the border, Trump says about 20 million have come in just in time that Biden's been in office. Last, 3.5 years? 20 million people? So nobody really knows, to be honest, how many people have come into our country illegally. But what we do know is that it is really bad. But we've seen the stories about illegals literally taking over communities, taking over sections of cities. They become dilapidated, crime-filled, and they're destroyed. There's a story out there in Denver, Colorado, where I used to live, where migrants from, I want to say it's Venezuela, have completely taken over an apartment building, an apartment complex, completely taken it over. And it is now so horrific. And no matter how horrific it gets, they're in Denver, and it's better than they had in Venezuela. But they don't take care of these areas. And so you put all of these migrants into these apartment buildings and these apartment complexes, in these hotels, and they just become destroyed. And we all know about the episodes of the horrendous episodes of rape and murder that have happened at the hands of these migrants. And this woman has some painful truths about all of this for her community.
Talk about this illegal immigration. It's what I call the black replacement plan. We're now only a little between 13 and 14% of the population. They say they brought in 20 million illegal immigrants. That's one of the numbers that I've heard. And, it's not confirmed. One of the numbers that I've heard, because of course they're not going to tell us how many for real. And they have no idea themselves. But when that happens, we're only over 40 million. So just think, they brought in adults, and mostly adult men that are half of our population. Do you think that will not affect what they're going to do in our communities? Do you think that won't affect what's going to happen with schools in predominantly black communities, Hispanic communities? Do you think that will not affect us?
Of course it will. She's right, obviously. Just ask the people on the south side of Chicago. Remember that whole story where you had all these people on the south side of Chicago, black folks, they rose up. They went to that meeting with all of those local politicians, commissioners, and all that kind of stuff, aldermen and all that. And they got up and they were pointing their fingers at the aldermen and the commissioners, and they said, no more. You are putting the illegal aliens, these migrants, above our needs. And that's what this lady's talking about. All these illegal folks that are getting the benefits that Americans should be getting as they take over the neighborhoods across America. And yes, all of this will dilute the vote. Remember, Kamala Harris wants to give all of those folks voting rights eventually. And so that's why when people say that if we lose this election, then it is our last free and fair election, because Kamala Harris and the Democrats, their plan is to give them amnesty and eventually, again, voting rights and representation in Congress through the census. And so when that happens, the vote is diluted to the point where the black vote simply won't matter. And that's what this woman is saying. You can see the entire video on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. That's a great 4.5 minute watch, because again, the woman does absolutely speak the truth. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Among those same lines, woman was talking about resources and so forth going to illegal aliens. This is something that was tweeted out overnight. And they're talking about this story in the New York Post. New York City migrant crisis. They're talking about how the costs will crack an eye-popping $5 billion. And this is just in New York. $5 billion on shelters, security, and food. And they say that amount could double by 2025. And so the Trump War Room tweeting this out: how many homeless veterans could we put into homes with $5 billion? How many police officers and firefighters could we hire with $5 billion? How many schools could we improve with $5 billion? This is Kamala Harris's agenda. Illegals first. Working class Americans are just an ATM to Kamala Harris. And she takes that money out and she gives it to the illegals. And that's what's going on. I mean, don't get mad at the messenger. I'm just telling you, this is how she feels. Yesterday, this audio was making the round. It is a Philadelphia mother who can't make ends meet because of Bidenflation and Kamalanomics.
How hard has inflation hit you?
It hit me hard. It's hitting me hard.
What do you blame for it?
I blame the federal government at this point. If a working class mom who works as a paralegal cannot buy a $2 bell pepper because it's now $5, imagine a mother living on food stamps. Imagine a mother who's making minimum wage trying to feed children. They're killing us without killing us. If you understand that. They're killing us without telling us they're killing us. They're hurting people in ways that they can't help themselves. It's either feed my child or how about feed my children and I don't eat. But I have to go work.
Who'd you vote for? Does it sound heartless to say who'd you vote for? Because I think that it's a legit question. Now, please don't get me wrong. I feel incredibly bad for this woman. I feel sorry for this woman. But she's being duped. If she voted for Joe Biden, then that's my question. Who did you vote for? Because if she did vote for Biden, and perhaps she's going to vote for Kamala Harris, I really don't know, then you're not helping your own cause. Because everybody out there is complaining about prices. Everybody out there is complaining about the cost of things, whether it's bread, whether it's milk, whether it's gas, whatever. And people always complain about taxes. Kamala Harris, thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we have inflation. We have groceries that are higher. We, of course, as you all know, have interest rates that are through the roof. And as I talk about often, people had to use their credit cards to pay groceries, to buy groceries. And now they're floating that balance from month to month, and it's impossible to pay all that off because of the rising cost of the interest rates. The interest rates are going up. And so this is a problem. So when you hear this story, and this audio bite, again, did go somewhat viral yesterday, my question, first question I asked, who did you vote for? And again, I'm really sorry for what's going on with her. I am. Words do mean things, but here's the deal. Actions speak louder than words. They do. Actions speak louder than words. So what I would like this woman to do, and anybody else who is complaining about the cost of things, what they need to do is they need to go out and they need to vote. And they need to vote for Donald Trump. You can even vote for RFK Jr. But for the love of all that is holy, if you can't afford groceries and you can't afford stuff, vote for something different. Don't vote for Kamala Harris. Don't vote for Joe Biden. They want to take what money you do have and what money the federal government has and give it to these illegal aliens while you can't afford food. So you've got to think about who you're voting for. And I'm going to try to see if I can figure out who that woman voted for. Because again, she got emotional and you feel bad for somebody like that. But at the same time, you've always got to ask the question, okay, so what are you going to do about it?